Welcome to the following presentation of the National Football League on NFL Network.
Hey, ho, let's go! Hey, ho, let's go! Do you love football? We love football! Say you love football! Let's go, Giants! Do you love football? Say you love football! We love football! Do you love football? Well, say you love football! Go Panthers! Do you love football? Say you love it! Oh, let's go! Hey, oh, let's go! Giants, Panthers! Let's go! Giants, Panthers! Let's go!
And our Thursday night football brings us to a gorgeous night in Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium. And our matchup tonight, the defending Super Bowl champion New York Giants taking on the hometown Carolina Panthers. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler along with Mike Mayock. These are 2 of 20 teams so far through 2 weeks that are 1-1 on the season. And it's a matchup of Eli Manning, the Super Bowl MVP from a year ago, against Cam Newton, the Offensive Rookie of the Year from last season. And it took all of that Super Bowl savvy by Eli Manning last week in a great second half. Come from behind effort again, Mike, to beat Tampa Bay. Might be a little bit harder on him tonight. He doesn't have all his weapons.
Easy's in a little trouble tonight, right? Now, there's an old NFL philosophy, next man up. That will be severely tested tonight. Let's start at tailback. Ahmad Bradshaw out. The good news for the Giants, Andre Brown played well in relief last week. 15 carries, 90 yards, pretty solid in pass protection. Now, wide receiver, they're decimated. Hakeem Nicks out. Dominic Hickson out. And Brad, it's almost eerie. A year ago this weekend, the Giants were so thin at wideout, they flew in Brandon Stokely during the week and started him as their third wide receiver. Now, what happened was a little-known wideout by the name of Victor Cruz exploded on a national scene. 3 catches, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So what they've been preaching all week long in the Giants locker room is, hey, it's an opportunity. Ramses Barden, Ruben Randall, Janelle Jernigan, who's going to step up and take advantage?
Next man up, the man for the Carolina Panthers. Week 1, they couldn't get a ground game going. Last week, Cam Newton and the ground game got going, and it was a huge difference.
The entire offense runs through Cam Newton. A week ago, New Orleans, 41 rushes, 219 yards, and really, it was all about Newton. Zone read, quarterback run, option, but where I was most impressed was the pass game. Big arm, can make all the throws, but he beat New Orleans out of the pocket with maturity and decision making.
New York won the toss, and they'll receive in the ballgame. Tonight's game available in HD and Spanish on your SAP channel. Great anticipation in this city about a much improved Carolina Panther team of Ron Rivera in his second season as a head man. And a lot of people think this is a team definitely capable of making the playoffs. On the other side, a guy that's won a couple of Super Bowls, Mr. Steady, Tom Coughlin, his 9th year as the head man of the Giants. David Wilson, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, is back deep. Justin Medlock has got it teed up. Packed house in Charlotte. Here we go. Line drive kick. And they're going to have to let this one roll into the corner and take a knee. So the Giants offense, which was unbelievable in the second half last week, 604 yards, second most in team history, and 510 of that belonged to that man, Eli Manning. That also the second most to Phil Simms in team history. They said, you know what? We'd like to get off to a little bit faster start tonight and not wait till the 4th quarter. Let's see how they do. First down at the 20. And Manning's going to throw on the first play of the game. Eli throws, and it's complete. It's a first down to Victor Cruz, the guy that Mike just talked about. Let's check the offense for the Giants. Beatty starting at tackle. Locklear switches to the other side with Dave Deal out with an injury. Backs and receivers look like this. Brown, Wisniewski, Bennett the big tight end, and Cruz and Barden the wide receivers.
Brad, last week they were in this formation a lot. 2 running backs and a tight end, 2 wideouts.
Manning the quick slant, complete again, out to the 40. And this one's to Barden. So Barden's got his hands wet already.
Yeah, if you're going to play soft and off, Eli Manning is a veteran quarterback that's going to take advantage of it. And I like the fact that the first 2 snaps, who do they go with? Victor Cruz.
Cruz coming off that sensational year last year. 82 catches and over 1,500 yards. Manning changes things at the line. And on the run is Brown with a first down. Nice blocking out front, and he got it with a penalty marker out to the 47-yard line. So let's hold on and check the flag.
Offsides, defense, number 95, line up in the neutral zone, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Charles Johnson offside. Giants with some missing pieces tonight, and they're big pieces. Bradshaw, their leading rusher. Nix, who had the huge game. Hickson, who would be the 3rd wideout, and then I mentioned Deal, the tackle, out as well on the front wall.
You know, Brad, they're in pretty good shape. They're in pretty good shape up front offensively because Beatty, who was the starting left tackle heading into the season, goes back to his natural position. They kick Locklear to right tackle, and all the starters have at least 7 years of experience in the NFL.
Robert Frazier, the referee, said that they would take the penalty. It was declined. It's still a first down, and Eli Manning going down as he threw that pass. Charles Johnson with his hands on Eli in the backfield.
Yeah, and just as I say they're okay, watch what happens over here with Locklear on the right side. I think the most natural edge rusher for Carolina is Charles Johnson. He's got a good first step. I like the way he used his hands to get around Locklear. Eli tried to step up, and he got rid of the football.
Got 20 sacks over the last 2 seasons, 9 a year ago. This time, an I backfield behind Manning on 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, he's saying man coverage on the edges, and now they're rocking the 2 deep.
There's Brown cutting it outside. Down the sideline he goes. Whoa, and a head-on collision with Nakamura in the secondary after a pickup of 31 yards.
Great job by Eli. He changes because he anticipates 2 deep, and the safeties go back, and you want to run the football. Watch right here at the point of attack. Really nice job running through the arm tackle. The block by Cruz gets the edge. Really good job both by Bennett and Cruz, and Brown runs through an arm tackle.
And Andre Brown, the last 2 weeks over 100 yards. He'd never had a positive yard in his career until last week. Here he is again, trying to bounce it outside. And the Panthers closed the door on him that time. Charles Godfrey made the stop for Carolina. And their defense, we've seen Charles Johnson already applying pressure with the 2 Edwards and Hardy up front. Linebacking core's got a rookie in there, and Kuechly, along with Benson and Anderson. And the back end, you just saw Godfrey in on the tackle, and there's a rookie back there too, and Josh Norman. You wonder at some point when Eli Manning's going to try to pick on him.
Yeah, 5th-round kid. That's atypical for a rookie 5th-round quarter to start, and he started every snap so far this season.
That was Sean McDermott, the defensive coordinator, hoping his team can slow down the Giants on this opening drive. Plenty of time for Manning to throw this time to the fullback. And he's run out of bounds about 2 yards shy of the first down by Anderson.
It's just a very veteran move by Eli Manning. He didn't want to force it deep on the corner route. He had to check down to Hynoski and just give it to him.
First 2 weeks, the Panthers allowed opening drive touchdowns. No other team in the league allowed that. They're getting close here, but it's a huge 3rd down upcoming for the Giants. 3rd down and 3.
Entire playbook open to the Giants right now. 3 wide receiver set with 1 tight end.
And that tight end's a big target. Martellus Bennett. Manning goes to him. Touchdown.
That's the guy that needs to step up for the Giants tonight with all the injuries. 9 receptions heading into the season. Really gifted. Originally drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, and he's off here, and he's just going to come right down the seam and win. Working on the safety. When that safety Godfrey squats like that, he's got no shot. He's either got to redirect or slow him down because he's not helping his buddy Nakamura, the other safety, redirect.
Manning's 5th touchdown pass of this young season. The extra point up and good. Opening drive for the defending champion Giants, almost picture perfect. 80 yards in 8 plays. Manning to Bennett, 7-0 Giants. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Pizza Hut's Big Dinner Box. All your favorites in one epic box. Pizza Hut, make it great. Giants' opening drive was great. And this guy has got a touchdown in each of his first 3 games. A first for the Giants. Just kind of a guy in Dallas behind Jason Witten. Now he's one of the guys that they need to be big for them, and he has been.
And Ness, he was one of those, quote, guys with great natural ability who couldn't seem to get it 100% going in Dallas. I think he's played better here in New York in the future. Sky's the limit for this guy.
Joe Adams, a sensational return man in college at Arkansas, gets a shot at this one on the run at the 4. And this isn't Arkansas. Stopped short of the 20-yard line by Keith Rivers. So out comes Cam Newton. Last week, career-high 71 rushing yards, a touchdown in the air and 1 on the ground. And so dangerous in both departments. So they'll start at the 18-yard line. Jonathan Stewart as Cam Newton going out, and it's
Wildcat, here we go.
Angelo Williams in the Wildcat. And across the 20 out to the 23-yard line.
Now, the interesting thing about them going Wildcat is whether Cam's lined up at wide receiver or at quarterback, it really doesn't matter because it's the same blocking scheme with the quarterback running the football. So it's interesting they extend him out there. And yeah, you better go cover him because they might throw it up there. He's so gifted an athlete. He made a catch at Auburn in the corner of the end zone on a throwback that blew me away in his college career.
Look at the block. He got a good one out there on the corner. 2nd down and 5. Cam in his normal spot now. Wants to throw. Does. And it's incomplete. Intended for Lewis Murphy. As we take a look at the Panthers up front, they've got a change as well tonight. Gary Williams starting at tackle with Byron Bell out to an injury. Ryan Khalil may be the best center in football. Receivers and backs, Tolbert and Williams in the backfield. Olsen the tight end with Smith and LaFell the wideouts.
Yeah, disconnect on that last play between the quarterback and his receiver, Lewis Murphy.
Throw to the outside, and pass interference coming on Corey Webster. Steve Smith, the intended receiver.
Talking about a 3rd and 6 situation, and I thought Webster did a nice job anticipating the throw.
Pass
That's it.
interference.
Hands are all over him.
Number
There's no
23.
question.
It's a spot foul. Automatic first down.
No question. The right arm is wrapped around him. There was a ton of contact while the ball was in the air. I'd love to say it's not pass interference, Ness, but it was.
So first down at the 26. Keeps the Panther drive alive. Tolbert in there in the backfield with Williams.
Pistol.
Play action. Pump fake. Deep middle. Complete out to Olsen, the tight end. Out to the 49-yard line.
Well, that's a heck of a catch. He maintains control throughout the whole process. And guys, they're going fast here. Lined up, and here we go. Tempo football.
And on the option, the pitch is late to Williams. And he picks up about 7.
If Steve Smith holds his block for 1 tick longer, that's a touchdown. That's how close they were there. This is a great pitch. We talked about option football. He comes down the line, and right now the pitch goes out. That's an arm tackle by Corey Webster. One more hold on that, and it's a touchdown.
Williams into the middle of that defensive line, and Justin Tuck stops him for no gain.
Carolina obviously looking for some tempo here.
They face another 3rd down. Last time they got it by penalty. 3rd down and 3 here.
You take D'Angelo Williams out. Tells me that Mike Tolbert, who is their best pass protection guy and one of the best in the league over the last several years, lined up next to Cam. He's in there probably to pass protect.
The 3 receivers to the right, and now Olsen, the tight end, switches back over in a slot. And it's quarterback draw all the way. Newton's going to get dragged down. Nice defensive play by Jason Pierre-Paul.
And that's a planned quarterback run. Watched it on tape all week long, and all they're trying to do is hesitate, let the guard pull, let the back get up in the hole. Look at them stay home. Pierre-Paul doesn't see, quarterback doesn't see a hole. Pierre-Paul forces him outside and has the athletic ability to make the tackle.
Nortman, the rookie, in to punt. And Ruben Randall waits back for the Giants inside the 10. Bounces at the 1 and got to the end zone. With 8.5 remaining first half. 44-yard kick. Giants have got the lead. They've got the ball back when we return. NFL received sad news this week with the passing of NFL Films president Steve Sable following an 18-month battle with brain cancer.
How would I define our job at NFL Films? I'd say it is to bring a new understanding to something that's already been seen, to give a creative treatment to reality.
Over 107 Emmys for NFL Films, 40 Emmy Awards. He was a Sporting News 2002 Sports Executive of the Year, a Hall of Famer who will definitely be missed. And folks, a lot of what Steve and his dad did for NFL Films is taken for granted. Some of the things you see tonight, the super slow motion, the audio that we've got on the field, all those things, they were the pioneers of that.
Yeah, and I think that's what the world sees. I think what I saw, because I worked out of the NFL Films building, and anybody that knew Steve, whether it was NFL Films, NFL Network, the extended NFL coaches and general managers, feel his loss, because he was one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. And Steve, we miss you already.
Andre Brown. Steve would have had some slow motion of him belting his way into the secondary for 17 yards.
No doubt about that. They've got Hynoski in the game. Really good lead blocker. Double down. He picks up the outside backer. Good cut by Andre Brown. And watch him get north, secure the football, and run through the arm tackle of Haruki Nakamura.
Wow. He's had a couple of collisions in the secondary so far in this first quarter. At the 36-yard line, first down. Quick throw on the slant. Manning, a nice move by Barden to take it outside, and another big gainer. Pickup of 21.
Really good job by the quarterback getting the ball over Charles Johnson. Slant, the ball's thrown behind, which actually helps him rotate away from the corner. Gamble looking to take advantage of his opportunity. Ramses Barden, Brad, was drafted 4 years ago as a third-round pick. Has not really made a mark as a Giants wide receiver. This is a huge opportunity tonight.
Had one catch for 24 yards last week, but 2 big ones here in the first quarter already. Wisnowski back in there at the fullback spot. Draw play, Brown. This time dragged down at the 40-yard line. And you know, until last week, I don't think a lot of people even knew who this guy was, Alex.
Brad, I don't think that even his quarterback really knew who he was. Eli Manning telling me that he doesn't think that he was ever on the same field, not in only a game, but on a practice field too, with running back Andre Brown. One of those great NFL stories. Kid was cut, waived 7 times by 5 different NFL teams over the past couple of years. Comes home to the state that he went to college in at North Carolina State, looking to have a big opportunity tonight, Brad.
He's made the most of this first quarter. Here's a throw out to the guy that just came in to take his spot, David Wilson. And they've been trying to get this rookie out of Virginia Tech some reps. He's still struggling a little bit with pass protection especially, but man, he's fast when he gets going.
First round pick, Brad. It's all about trust with coaches and rookie running backs. And he fumbled a ball in the 4th preseason game. He dropped an easy catch last week. He's no good in pass protection yet. So it's about finding him touches without compromising your quarterback.
Brown's back in there flanking Manning in the gun on 3rd down and 5. Eli, plenty of time, throws a dart out complete to Cruz, and it's a 1st down at the 30-yard line.
Carolina only bringing 4. It's easily picked up by the Giants offensive line. And if you give Eli Manning that much time in a pocket to step up into, look at this pocket right here. Bang. It's beautiful. All day, step up, a corner that's off. Remember, that's a rookie corner in Josh Norman. He's given up a little bit of yardage there. That's stealing right there.
So far, Eli Manning has stolen all but one, 7 out of 8 here in the 1st quarter. Wants to throw again, a screen pass. One-handed by Brown, but he's brought down by Kuechly, the rookie linebacker out of Boston College.
I thought this is what he did best in college, which was the pass game. Luke Kuechly, number 59 in the middle of your frame, sees it, smells it, sees the guards and tackles pulling. That's just a really good job. 9th pick overall, one-handed catch. But Brad, he's so instinctive, and his physical skill set is phenomenal.
7th play, the Giants' 2nd possession. Manning comes back far sideline, completes it to Randall. Short gain on the play.
Brad, he's carving these guys up like a week ago in the 4th quarter. Remember, we had the bad Eli in the 1st quarter with a couple interceptions, and then in the 4th quarter, he just went off. And right now, you're seeing a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the prime of his career.
3rd down and 8. The biggest 3rd down of the quarter for the Carolina Panther defense.
Nickel package in the game.
That one broken up, intended for Cruz. Nice play by Captain Munnerlyn.
Yeah, they brought pressure, and Munnerlyn undercut the route. Again, good pass protection. Eli just misses him. Watch the cross blitz here. Applewhite coming this way. The pressure, he's got plenty of time. He just doesn't get it out far enough, and Munnerlyn does a great job undercutting the route, getting a hand in front of Cruz.
Lawrence Tynes hasn't missed a field goal this year, 5 for 5, including a 52-yarder. This will be a 47-yard field goal attempt. Kick on the way, and it's perfect. Giants tack on 3 more. So they're 2 drives of the ball game, net them 10 points and a 10-point lead. Tomorrow on NFL Total Access, Phillip Rivers joins us on Chargers Cam to talk about the Chargers' hot start and their big showdown with Matt Ryan and the Falcons. Both teams 2-0, plus the latest news from around the league heading into this weekend's games. Catch Total Access tomorrow, 7 Eastern, only on NFL Network. So Carolina in a 10-0 hole here in the 1st quarter. Tynes, who just hit the field goal, set to kick away. And again, Joe Adams, the rookie, waits for Carolina. He'll get a crack at this one as well. From the 3. And again, he's not going to get to the 20-yard line. 3:40 remaining in the 1st quarter. Cam Newton and the Panthers offense back in gear when we come back. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer of NFL fans. Here we go. And by Samsung Galaxy S3. The next big thing is here. Beautiful look in at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Our aerial coverage presented by Southwest Airlines. This is one of those Chamber of Commerce nights in the South. Blue skies, Carolina blue skies all day long. And in their blue, the Panthers go to work offensively again inside their own 20-yard line. I almost wore that same thing tonight. Cam Newton in the gun with all his receivers to the top of your screen. Play action. He comes back the other way. Batted in the air. Almost intercepted by Jason Pierre-Paul. Wow.
Yeah, he was working on Gary Williams. Now remember, Pierre-Paul's working on Gary Williams, who's starting because of Byron Bell right over here. Gary Williams has played guard in his past, not right tackle. Pierre-Paul goes up in the air, knocks it down with the right hand. He elevates to try and catch it. I tell you what, I give Gary Williams a ton of credit trying to come back. He knocks it out of Pierre-Paul's hands. We'll check on the status of Jason when we get back.
3:34 remaining, first quarter, 10-0. Giants in front. Jason Pierre-Paul went off under his own power, so that's good news for the Giants. Meanwhile, second down and 10 for the Panthers. D'Angelo Williams, big run out across the 30 to the 33-yard line. And trail roll finally brought him down.
Yeah, they bring the right guard, hang Gardner around, and this is a situation where Cam Newton, it's a read. He's either going to give it or he's going to take it and cut up on the same side as the running back. Tremendous read that time because Umanura was caught in no man's land. They got outside him. There's no linebacker scraping over the top, and that's where it puts that defensive end in a bind.
From the 34, the toss to Williams. Got a block on the corner. Knocked out of bounds. Jordan Gross was leading the way there, his left tackle. And believe it or not, look at whose company D'Angelo Williams is in. 5.03 per carry, 1,000 carries, Jim Brown and Barry Sanders.
And John,
I didn't mean to chuckle, but
no, I hear you. You wouldn't throw him in there with Jim Brown and Barry Sanders, but he is a former first-round pick, who, along with Jonathan Stewart, who's not playing tonight. Both of them average between 4.6 and 5 yards a carry.
That's their $10 million backfield.
Oh yeah.
That's not counting Cam Newton. This time Cam keeps it and he goes down. Justin Tuck, second time that Tuck has held his ground and brought down Cam Newton. And now we got a scuffle going on the far side between Steve Smith and Matthias Kiwanuka. Littlest guy on the field mixing it up with one of the bigger guys.
Yeah, that's what usually happens in the bars, isn't it? And they've been going at it all night. Okay.
Well, there it's the corner, but Kiwanuka came over later. And
yeah, but these are the two that have been going at it all night, and I don't know what you do here because they're both getting at it. And now here come the fellas. Kiwanuka comes over later and just gives them a little shove, and it starts again.
No flags, no harm, no foul, I guess, and brings up third down at 5.
The danger in the no harm, no foul thing is the players understand they can get away with it. I thought it happened Monday night, and you got to be careful letting that get out of hand.
Jason Pierre-Paul is back in there in a pass rushing situation on third down and 5. Newton, blitz coming on the corner. Cam gets away, trying to get rid of the football, and the pressure got to him. Hosley just stayed with it. Newton running to his left, trying to throw back across his body. It's incomplete, and the Panthers will have to punt again.
And Brad, you called it exactly right, because this is all about J-Ron Hosley coming here. Cam sees it, spins out. He's not used to a guy who's as quick or faster than him chasing him from behind. Hosley impacts that play, and the third-round rookie from Virginia Tech continues to make plays for the Giants.
Nortman to punt for the second time tonight. Out of a lazy kick, Ruben Randall's going to camp under it at the 23, spins across the 25, and the Giants will have their third offensive possession coming up. They scored on their first 2, touchdown and a field goal, and they lead 10-0. On NFL AM, the only morning show devoted entirely to football. Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton joins the crew live to discuss the squaring off this weekend against RG3 and the Redskins. Plus, Ken Whisenhunt of the Cardinals joins us to talk about preparing for battle with Michael Vick and the Eagles. NFL AM, your first stop for all the latest highlights and headlines, only on NFL Network, weekdays starting at 6 Eastern Time. First time the Giants had it, they took it 80 yards in 8 plays and an Eli Manning touchdown pass. The second time, 51 yards and a 47-yard field goal. This is their third possession with a 10-0 lead. And it's Brown that takes it out for only a yard to the 29-yard line.
You know, Ness, we talked about guys taking advantage of opportunities, right? And a couple of the young guys for the Giants really have. And I think you start with Andre Brown. Talking about 6 carries for 58 yards, including a 31-yard carry right there. And how about Ramsey Barton? Catches the ball, thrown behind him, rolls, gets up the field for 21. A couple of young guys stepping up, and Carolina needs a stop.
Brown up the middle, weaving his way into the secondary, across the 45, out to the 48-yard line. I don't know how he popped out of the backside of that skirmish, but he did for 19 yards.
Yeah, Charles Johnson beats the tackle Locklear across his face. I thought he was going to be -2 in the backfield right there, but a nice cut, some patience, and look at that hole open up. And Andre Brown at 227 pounds, Brad, is showing nimble feet and an ability to get north-south and break tackles.
And he's showing the entire country that everybody's shaking their head at what Alex said about him being waived 7 times in his career. David Wilson's going to give him a breather. He's spreading out now to the left as a wide receiver. Manning going to go to his fullback across midfield. Hiznoski blasts his way to the 46.
And that's a dude you really don't want to tackle when he has a head of steam after making a catch. I mean, Henry Hinoski's a load. 6'1", 266 pounds, and there's nowhere to hit him that's not going to hurt you.
Quarter comes to a close. It was all Giants. 158 yards of offense. Eli Manning in quarter number 1, carving up the Panthers. Eli Manning, 122 consecutive starts. Rivers and Flacco next in line. If you go, where does that rank all time? Behind Big Brother and Brett Favre.
There's some tough guys right there. People have no idea how many hits a quarterback takes in a game and how good that ice bath feels the next morning.
Look at his last 2 quarters. The 4th quarter against Tampa Bay last week when they battled back to win, and the 1st quarter tonight where he was 10 out of 12 and threw it to 7 different receivers. Let's see how the 2nd quarter goes.
I'm going to tell you one thing, partner. If Carolina can't stop the run, it's not going to matter.
Right. And they haven't stopped Andre Brown yet. He's the tailback in the eye. Play action. Manning loads, is down the middle, and another catch by Barton. And another big play, a pickup of 20.
The pass protection has been phenomenal all night long. Watch what happens. Locklear comes out here. Great job. Play action. Now, all of a sudden, you step in and throw the skinny post, and the knock on Barton has been his inability to get off press coverage. That time he beats the rookie, Josh Norman, back to the inside, and at 6'6", he makes an inviting target over the middle.
Now 1st down from the 25. Brown blasts it into the middle for 3. John Beeson stops him, and now a little pushing and shoving going on again with Edwards involved. Dwan Edwards.
You know, he was a great pickup for this team, and they needed a defensive tackle. Andre Neblett went down, and when the final cuts came out, I was talking to Marty Herney, the general manager. They were targeting Buffalo and Detroit, who both had plenty of defensive tackles, and I really believe he's a key add to that front.
2 tight ends set here for the Giants with Manning in the shotgun. Again, plenty of time to throw. Wide open is Barton again. 1st down and more. Knocked out of bounds at the 15, making the 10-yard line rather. And 14 more yards for number 13.
I'm just blown away by the pass protection so far. Watch Chris Snee right here, an all-pro right guard. They slide the protection to the left. He stays on his block. Eli has had all night to throw the football, and I'm telling you, Ness, if you can't stop the run and you can't rush the quarterback, it's going to be a long night here in Carolina for any Panther fans.
Red zone time again for the Giants. Their 3rd straight drive. This the opening one of the 2nd quarter, and they've got it 1st and goal at the 9. Blitz coming. Draw play, Brown heading to the corner with a stiff arm. Got down to the 2-yard line. Josh Norman rode him out, and now he landed kind of funny, and he's slow to get up.
I'm rooting for him to hang in this. What a great opportunity you have tonight. I would hate to see him get hurt. He's taking advantage of the opportunity. He's running hard. Really good call on the draw. They push Frank Alexander up the field. Now, let's see at the very end here. He just falls awkwardly, it looked like, with that right knee and hip. He gets almost horse-collared there, by Norman.
Hinoski, the fullback, is back in there. Second down and goal. He gets the carry, dives for the goal line, and he's just shy. Juan Edwards went airborne with him to make the stop, along with Kuechly.
Carolina needs to make a play here. Second down, shadow of your own end zone. Hinoski gets a good block. The elevation of the tailback round does not get in the end zone. Number 50, James Anderson, did a heck of a job pushing him back.
At about the 1 foot line. Extra lineman in there, and James Brewer. 2 tight ends. And it'll be Brown in for the touchdown. His second touchdown of the year, his first of the night.
Yeah, James Brewer, a backup offensive tackle who they really like, came in the game on that with the big package, the jumbo package. Right here is Brewer. Watch the block at the point of attack. Hinoski gets his guy, and bang, not a problem.
Not a problem for the Giants offense again for the third time tonight. Extra point is good. Ron Rivera and the Panthers are in some trouble here on their home turf with 12:03 remaining in the first half. Brown from a yard out, and the defending Super Bowl champions lead 17-0. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by Lexus, introducing a stunning work of technology, the entirely new Lexus ES. And by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better. Well, 3 drives for the Giants, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Andre Brown and Barden, the wide receiver, having banner first halves already. The guys that had to step in for 2 injured starters.
Next man up, right? Take advantage of it, man.
Tines kickoff. Joe Adams will take it 5 yards deep. Hasn't been able to get to the 20 yet.
Nice cut.
This time he does, but that's all he gets, is out to the 20. Sunday, wake up with First on the Field and Game Day Morning. For live reports from game sites and all the latest news and analysis. This Sunday, Buccaneers head coach Greg Schiano sits down with Melissa Stark to discuss their showdown with the Cowboys. First on the Field and Game Day Morning all starts Sunday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network. This guy's got to get something going, Mike.
You know what, Brad? And I was just going to say that to you. Second-year player. In college, he never panicked. Remember his national championship season? They're down to Alabama at half, like 24-0.
Right.
The kid doesn't panic, but the whole team has to just take your time, get a rhythm. There's been no offensive rhythm so far.
This time he throws it right into the hands of Jason Pierre-Paul, who's had his hands on the football more than the receivers for the Panthers have.
He really has. Remember, 65, Gary Williams is usually a guard, and on the short, quick sets, you got to attack the defensive end in his knees. You got to force his hands down. You can't sit there and wait, or Pierre-Paul will just jump all day and knock the football down. You got to attack him right at the knees. Get his hands down.
Pierre-Paul, who had 16.5 sacks last year. And in this case, it's passes defended that he's shining with tonight. Pump fake one way, wanted to throw a screen back the other way, and Newton's going to throw it in the turf.
Oh, frustrated, man.
Let's check in with Alex.
Hey, Brad, well, it might be wise for Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers to take advantage of the Giants' secondary. Corey Webster, the cornerback, taken to the locker room for x-rays on his hand. Don't know exactly where he got injured. Don't know if he'll be able to come back in this game. They're already very thin in the secondary, although they do get back Prince Amukamara tonight. He has been on the field playing here and there, Brad.
That's been a killer for him early in the season, and their defensive coordinator trying to put a patchwork group back there in the secondary.
And Webster, their most consistent defensive back. They are young and inexperienced on the corners.
Steve Smith hasn't had a catch tonight so far. Cam Newton fires down the middle, and he got Brandon LaFell for a big gain out near midfield.
I really believe Brandon LaFell maybe has improved more than any other Carolina Panther in the last couple of years, especially in his route running. Did a nice job finding an opening in the zone, and a real good throw by Manning.
Let's see if that kick starts the Panthers offense a little bit. There's the numbers from a year ago for LaFell. Olsen, the tight end, in motion and now settles on the left side. Here's the zone read. Boy, D'Angelo Williams almost took Cam Newton's hands with him that time.
Yeah, they're at the mesh point, and at the mesh point, the quarterback has to make a decision, and the running backs get antsy. Give me the ball because I want to go. But Cam's trying to he's reading Osi right here, okay? His eyes are on Osi, and he's not sure what to do with it. D'Angelo says, just give me the ball. Cam's trying to take it back. I promised you he's trying to get the football back, and D'Angelo said, I got it.
The cart was getting ahead of the horse there for a second. Second down and 3. Blitz coming on the corner. The run goes to Williams, and he's brought down for a loss of a yard.
Yeah, Umanura destroyed the tight end wham block that time, and the integrity of the play was gone.
Jaquan Williams is the guy that made the stop. And it brings up third down. This is one the Panthers have to have right here. Third down at 4 in Giants territory, trailing by 17 with 10 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Yeah, you just made a big play on third down with the long throw to LaFell. You've got to continue this, and you have to get points on the board.
Play action. Newton in trouble, and down he goes. Umanura with the sack. And another opportunity goes by the boards, courtesy of that Giants front defense.
Yeah, and you don't beat Jordan Gross too often with an inside move. Umanura does a great job. And there's LaFell breaking away from the corner try, and I thought he had him.
Instead, Nortman to punt again. Fair catch, called for and taken back at the 13-yard line. It's been all Giants so far. Cam Newton, just when he had things rolling a little bit, found himself on his backside. 17-0 New York. Giants 17-0. Brad Nessler, Mike Mayock, Alex Flanagan with you. Mike, if they don't get some pressure on Eli Manning, he won't even have to take his jersey off at the end of this game, and next week it won't even have sweat marks on it.
Yeah, you're right, and it's those guys up front that we just saw. They're running the football and they're protecting Eli. It's a bad combination for the Panthers.
Quick slant, left side.
Wow.
Cruz broke the tackle and got out near the 20-yard line.
Boy, that was a sweet move by Cruz. Now, this is just a quick here. Protection. Bang. Look at all the room around his feet. When a quarterback has room around his feet and vision to see the route, he'll pick you apart like it's a 7-on-7 flag football game. And for Eli Manning, that's exactly what it is. And there's the last play. Good move by Cruz to extend it, but Brad, he's throwing on air, man.
Back to the ground game, and that's been working too with this guy, Brown. And it looks like he's got the first down. 8:25 remaining in the half. Eli Manning, 7 different receivers tonight. Last week wasn't sacked. Tonight 15 drop back, still no sacks.
It's kind of fun to look at all 32 teams and their sack totals because the veteran quarterbacks get rid of the football. They're typically the best in the league at not allowing sacks.
13 out of 15 for Eli Manning in this first half. He'll throw it again. And again, nobody near him as he drills it down the middle to Barden again. And there goes 21 more yards.
How about Ramses Barden? 5th catch. Top of the screen. He's coming down in here. No pressure on the quarterback. He gets inside leverage, breaks it across behind the linebackers. But here's the reason, folks. Eli is standing back there like a Friday afternoon quarterback in the college dorms, and just saying, hey, it's flag football, you can't hit me.
Barden had 9 receptions all of last year. He's got 5 in the first half. Manning waiting down the middle. This one's dropped. Martellus Bennett, no, it was Pasco, the tight end. John Beeson, nice job defensively.
And Brad, we've said a couple of times, Carolina needs to do this. Carolina needs to do that. They have yet to do it. They can't move the ball consistently on offense, and it's now time. It's 2nd and long. Ron Rivera, you've got him behind the chains now. You need to take advantage.
You dial up a blitz here. They haven't done that much. They won't here either. On the ground, a cutback by Brown. Penalty marker in the backfield.
Boy, they lost backside contain again. Good job by the tight end, Martellus Bennett, allowing that cutback.
Holding. Offense. Number 85. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat 2nd down.
That's why it was a good block, apparently, right?
Exactly.
Now, the cutback is all contingent about this guy sealing. Look at the right hand up on the pad. That's really not that bad because you're inside the framework of the body. But as soon as he starts reacting away from you, you got to let go because that's when they see the cloth being pulled.
Really the first time the Giants have been in a long yardage situation all night long. 2nd down and 20. Back at the 34-yard line. Manning in the shotgun. Set to throw, steps up in the pocket, fires down the middle, and it's caught by Barden again. And he's got a 1st down. Another explosive play, 23 yards that time.
Yeah, but John Beeson, a veteran and an all-pro, has got to make this interception. Watch Beeson right here. It goes right through his hands. This is a ball that should not have been thrown. It goes through 2 of them. Actually, Munnerlyn, I think, tipped it, which is why Beeson didn't get it. That's one of those throws where I go, that's the bad Eli.
That was a wobbly throw. It ended up in Barden's arms for his 6th catch for 107 yards.
Yeah, I can't blame Barden there. There was too much underneath cover. There was 2 deep and 5 under there.
Draw play to Brown. Dragging tacklers with him. Munnerlyn holding on for dear life, but 5 more yards for Andre Brown.
Wow. You're down 17-0. You got to make that play, Brad. You know.
Yep. Look at the night that Brown and Barden have had. These are 2 of the guys you talked about in the open. And wow, we expected them to be the next man up and maybe shine. I don't think we thought they were going to be shining this much.
Yeah, we talked about it in the open. A year ago this weekend was the coming out party for Victor Cruz. And right now playing the part of Victor Cruz is Ramses Barden.
David Wilson in there flanking Manning now in the shotgun. Eli short throw. And the tight end with a catch. And the 1st down, it appears, at the 5-minute mark.
I'll tell you, Martellus Bennett has been a huge addition to this offense. Remember, Travis Beckham got hurt on the PUP list. Then Jake Ballard gets hurt. They put him on the injured waived list, and New England picks him up. So General Manager Jerry Reese had to rebuild his tight end squad. They get Martellus Bennett. They draft Adrian Robinson, and the beat goes on.
Draw play. Woo. What a collision in the backfield David Wilson and James Anderson just had. Loss of a couple.
Yeah, really nice job by James Anderson. Comes through untouched. The rookie's fortunate that he didn't lose the football here. He's had some fumbling problems in his past. Good hit, and I give Wilson credit for covering the football with 2 hands. Brad, during training camp, Jerry Reese told me that every day he goes up to David Wilson, he says, no ball security, no job security.
James Anderson led the club in tackles last year. Had a big one right there. 2nd and long, Manning over the middle. Cruz has got the catch, but it's back around the original line of scrimmage. Anderson again made the stop.
But that's okay. It's 2nd and long. You pick up 6 or 7. A, it improves your field goal situation, and B, it gives you a shot at making it on 3rd down.
Yep. Here is that 3rd down. 3rd down and 9. These Panther fans are trying to help out their defense right now.
Ramses Barden down here. This is Cruz in the slot where he's most dangerous.
10th play of the Giants drive. Let's see if they can keep it alive. Looked like there was motion, but Manning comes up throwing, and it's incomplete, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Reuben Randall.
Yeah, and I thought that Will Beatty moved, and that's what Carolina wanted. They wanted a penalty.
Now it's going to give Tynes another crack at a field goal. He's already hit one from 47. This will be from 49. And he's perfect on the year, 6 for 6. Tynes from 49 yards out. Kick on the way, and it is right down the middle. Giants have scored on every possession. 3:13 remaining in the half. 20-0. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by Courtyard. It's a new stay. And by Delta Faucet. See what Delta can do. Giants pitching a shutout here at Bank of America Stadium. 20-0. You can celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with the NFL. Visit NFL.com/Espanol, official Spanish language home of the NFL, for game highlights, fantasy football, and a first look at your team's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. And all the Thursday night games are available in Spanish.
You going to go with that one there, big guy?
Estadio Bank of America. I'll go with that. You want to try the rest of it?
Gigantes de Nueva York versus the Panthers de Carolina.
Attaboy.
My sister Ellen, who speaks it and teaches it at Washington and Lee, would not be happy with my version there.
The kick deep, and Joe Burns lets this one go as it goes out the back of the end zone. 3:13 remaining in the half. By any language, the Panthers are in a major hole here, 20-0. Join us next Thursday night. Mike and Alex and I will be in Baltimore as the Ravens and the Browns tangle in AFC North clash next Thursday, 8 o'clock on NFL Network. Panthers from the 20. They've been held scoreless by that Giants defense. Cam Newton on play action. Now he's in trouble again. He comes back to the far side. Finally got one to Steve Smith. In the 18th play of the ball game, they finally target Steve Smith, and he picks up 13 yards and a first down.
Second-year quarterback with a full field read. Now, I thought he had it over here, and he looked here. What I liked about it is when he decided he didn't have it, he went all the way back the other side of the field. Right here, I thought he had it. What does he do? Pulls the ball down. Now he's going completely to the other side, steps up, first down. That's a big, big advancement for a young second-year player.
On first down the middle to his tight end he goes. And breaking the tackle is Olsen. And Olsen's into Giant territory at the 49-yard line. So 18 more yards. And with 2.5 to go in the half, Carolina has its full complement of timeouts plus a 2-minute warning. And boy, any points they could get here before the break would be big.
Ness, they get a score here, go in with some momentum. It's a different kind of ball game. Good job there hitting Olsen, who they traded for in the offseason.
Cam throws out complete to him again. 9 more yards as he's run out of bounds with 2:08 remaining.
All of a sudden, a little life, a little rhythm.
Alex was telling us about Corey Webster being out as they x-rayed his hand. He's apparently okay because he's back out there.
Yeah, what they've done is in their nickel or their sub package, Webster on one side, Hosley in the middle, and Amukamara on the other side.
2-minute warning in Charlotte. All Giants so far.
Rich Eisen letting you know, coming up on the Lexus halftime show, we remember Steve Sable in his own words. And we'll have highlights of the first half. Brad and Mike, there's 2 minutes left in this half to see if the Panthers might provide us with one for them.
Yep, it's been all Giant highlights so far, but Cam Newton does have the Panthers at the Giant 40-yard line. Indeed he will. Second down and a yard. Cam Newton's hit his last 4 passes after starting the game 1 out of 6. This time he rides his tailback and gives it to him. And looks like it's going to be a first down for Mike Tolbert. Mike Tolbert, a guy that packs on 245 pounds on a 5'9" frame. He'll move the sticks to the 39. Let's see if Cam Newton can make it 5 straight completions. Too low for Olsen.
And that's a throw he needs to make, and he knows that. I mean, no pressure, wide open. I think he short-armed it a little bit because Pierre-Paul was elevating again.
Well, when you look at the quarterback comparison, there isn't one so far, considering what Eli Manning has done as he's carved up the Panthers 17 out of 21. Right now he's hoping his defense can keep that 0 on the scoreboard for Carolina. Second down at 10, blitz coming, and this one's blown dead.
False start. Offense. Number 89. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Wow. It's a first penalty. It's a big one on Steve Smith.
You know, head coaches hate offsides or motion penalties on wideouts because all they really have to do is look in at the football. You know, obviously you're looking at coverages and everything else, but that's a damaging penalty.
Makes it second down at 15. Again, the Giants will blitz. Newton loads, fires behind, and intercepted by Hosley. LaFell had a hand on it. Hosley's got it now, going the other way.
It'll be interesting to see if they bring that back because of the contact when he intercepted the football. Now, LaFell is open. Remember, Hosley in the nickel package is the sub defender on the crossing route. Cam puts it behind him. The ball gets tipped, and he trips over the legs of LaFell. I think they're going to have to take a look at this up in the booth. He has possession. He touches him clearly. I think he's got to be down right there.
And they are going to take a look right now.
By the way, that's 2 passes in a row with kind of wild inaccuracies from Cam Newton. Watch his feet here. Okay. Here's the tip. Way behind LaFell. The catch by Hosley. They touched there. I think Hosley's left hand touched him also. There's the foot. Their feet. I think I see 2 or 3 different surfaces touching there, Brad. I think that's got to come back.
That would be helpful to the Panthers because right now where they've got it spotted is already field goal range for the Giants at the Panther 35-yard line. So miscue there. A couple of bad throws by Cam Newton, and that's his 3rd interception of the season.
Yeah, let's see if he gets a little sloppy here with his footwork or not, okay? Tolbert steps up. His eyes are down the field. Now he throws across his body this way with his feet going that way. See that front foot? Goes sidearm across his body, and from my perspective, that's why the ball came behind him.
Bob McGrath is the replay official up here. Robert Frazier is the referee on the field. Soon to let us know whether or not the interception's not going to change, but the return yardage we think will.
Yeah, let's see if we can get one more look at the interception, and there's got to be 1 or 2 touches there.
So Hosley, a guy starting because of injuries in that secondary and doing a good job. And right now the Giants have totally got the Panthers number, Mike.
Yeah, all 3 phases of the game, Brad. I mean, number 1, I think the star of the game, we're talking about Eli.
Right.
We're talking about Andre. We're talking about Ramses. I think the star of the game collectively is the Giants' offensive line.
No doubt.
They've opened up holes. They've protected their quarterback. And then on defense, I really give Perry Fuel credit. You come in here against that zone read option attack on a short week, and they've shown great discipline up front.
This is kind of what happened to the Panthers in week 1 when they couldn't get their ground game going. And so far tonight, same story.
Yeah, and Ron Rivera talked about it. Rob Chudzinski, the offensive coordinator, talked about week 1. They were behind the chains the whole time.
Right.
And all of a sudden you look up, it's 3rd and 10, and here they come again. And that's not any way to play in this league.
So again, they're taking a look at not the interception, but whether or not Hosley should have been down where he did a somersault after making the interception.
Yeah, I think when they take this long and they're writing things down, what it means is they want to get the yard line correct. They want the yard line correct. They want to make sure they know how much time is left. This is coming back.
And as I mentioned, Robert Frazier is our referee tonight. Here's the call.
After further review, after the interception, the defender made contact as he was going down to the ground. Therefore, he's down at contact. It will be New York's ball at the 41-yard line. Clock operator, please reset the game clock to 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Possession, there's a touch right there. Look at the feet. There's a cross the feet hit right there. There's another contact with the feet. I mean, from my perspective, that was pretty obvious.
They got it all right. So back it comes to the 41-yard line. The problem for the Panthers defense is there's still 1 minute and 25 seconds left in the quarter, and Eli Manning's on the other team.
Yeah, and he's got 3 timeouts, not to mention. So now Eli goes into attack mode.
Hey, off!
He will attack. Deep middle. Boy, that's been there all night, and it's the same guy again, Barden. 16 more yards.
He's getting in behind the linebackers, in front of the safeties, playing a soft zone, and Barden's just having a big day.
Over 100 yards in the first half for Barden. Eli looking for more. Finally, they get some pressure on him. Scrambles out of the pocket. He's going to keep it, head to the sideline, and get out of bounds. And he got a yard out of it.
Yeah, Frank Alexander beat Chris Snee that time. Immediate pressure up the middle with a quarterback like Eli hates it. Immediate pressure up the middle. Good move by Alexander right up the middle. Forces him out. Eli's not a great athlete. He's a great quarterback, but he's not a great athlete. Does the smart thing, gets out of bounds.
Fast enough to outrun those guys for a yard to the sideline and a 42-yard line. Second down and 9 again. The Giants have all their timeouts to work with.
Wait.
Manning pressured a little bit again from the backside, threw it down the middle. That one should have been intercepted in the secondary by Godfrey.
Be interesting to see here whether or not the undercoverage gets a piece of this ball. Both Munnerlyn and Beeson broke on the football. Going to see from behind now. Beeson's here. Munnerlyn's going to come from that side. Eli steps up and through. The ball's a little bit high, but Cruz probably should have had it. And then the tip goes right through Godfrey's hand.
Third down and 9. Manning again, a wall in front of him, deep in the middle, and Godfrey maybe should have had another one. Incomplete.
You know, a quarterback has got to trust his receivers, and that time Martellus Bennett basically stopped his route. Watch 85 up here. He's going to come down, see coverage. He just stops right there. Eli's anticipating he's going to run through Beeson, and he's throwing it off Beeson's front shoulder.
You know, here's the first punt of the night for the Giants. Weatherford is going to let this one go, and the Giants are going to down it inside the 10. So the Giants finally had to punt, but it came with around 40 seconds remaining in the half. Thursday night football next week. AFC North rivalry coming off a 100-yard effort. Trent Richardson leads the Browns into Baltimore to face the NFL's second leading rusher from a year ago, Ray Rice and the Ravens. Thursday night football next Thursday, 8 Eastern. Browns and Ravens on NFL Network.
There's the conversation right there. Hey, you got to run your route all the way. I'm anticipating you clearing the underneath coverage. I like that. Eli, he and Bennett are still trying to get on the same page together.
The Tolbert out to the 12.
You know, Brad, you mentioned our game next week. I'm going to give you one stat about the AFC North from last year. All 4 teams in the AFC North were in the top 9 in points allowed. I mean, to me, that's the new black and blue division. They play tough. They play great defense. I'm really excited to see a physical, fun game next week.
Fans here at Bank of America Stadium are not having too much fun, and they're showing their displeasure that the Panthers aren't trying to do something offensively as the first half comes to a close. Well, they packed the place on a beautiful night, but it hadn't been pretty for the Panthers. End of the first half, 20-0. Stay tuned. Rich and the guys with the Lexus halftime show is coming up next. Just about set to start the third quarter here in Charlotte. It's been all Giants so far, 20-0. Brad Nessler and Mike Mayock, you said some guys are going to have to step up, next man up, and boy, have they stepped up in the first half.
Yeah, Andre Brown almost at the 100-yard mark, one half into the game, and
right.
Ramses Barton has 7 catches for over 100. I've been really impressed with that, but Brad, to me, whenever you have a day like this, it might not be sexy, but it's all about the offensive line.
Boy, and that's been spotless tonight because Eli Manning has not been touched, and he's gone to 7 different receivers tonight for 192 yards and a touchdown.
And this is an easy one. It's a 5-on-4, and they're going to slide it to the right. So if you stop it here, one-on-one with, you got a running back in there and a double on their best rusher out here. So effectively it's 6-on-4. And Eli's had the opportunity to step up all day long and make throws like they're playing on air.
And a reminder that with NFL Game Rewind, you can get access to coaches' film and full replays of every game on demand in HD. Try it at NFL.com/Game Rewind.
And that's, I'm telling you, if you get a look at coaches' film, you won't believe what it shows you about the game of football, because every play has 2 angles, the all-22 and the end zone. You see everybody.
Cam Newton and the Panthers offense has been unable to get on track. Meanwhile, 287 yards for the Giants in the first half. Carolina gets the ball first, though, to start the third quarter. Tynes, who had a couple of field goals in the first half, gets us underway here in quarter number 3. Joe Adams, 3 yards deep, will bring it out. A little hesitation at the time. He lost the ball. The Giants have got it. Spencer Paysinger on the special teams, and that is not the way Carolina wanted to start this quarter.
And I'll tell you, Ness, not only did he strip it, but he came up with the fumble. Look at the left arm there, pops it out from Joe Adams. Now the ball's on the ground, and Paysinger is going to get it. So he strips it, he recovers it, and I'm telling you right now, Joe Adams, the rookie from Arkansas, you cannot put the ball on the ground in any situation, let alone this one.
And I would not be surprised if Eli Manning went for the dagger right here at the 19-yard line.
Well, here's the star of the half, Ramses Barton, Cruz up top.
And they'll keep it on the ground to Brown. And he got 3.
Brown's having fun. Look at him.
Reason to smile. Biggest night of his NFL life. We still got 2 quarters to go.
Mentioned earlier that there's nobody in this Giants offensive line with less than 7 years of NFL experience. That's a good news, bad news that we can talk about later.
2 tight ends. At the 16-yard line, the stretch play comes to Brown the other way. And this time, Panthers, Kuechly and Charles Johnson combine on the hit. Well, if somehow the Panthers could at least force a field goal out of that opening fumble to start the third quarter, it would be kind of a win for them. There's the 2 guys that needed to step up, and that's stepping up big time. 3rd down. Barton in a bunch set to the left of Eli Manning on 3rd and 7. Eli looking that way. Flushed out of the pocket. He's going to run and slide at the 11-yard line, shy of the first down. But he puts it right in the middle of the field for his field goal kicker.
Yeah, talked about how immediate up-the-field pressure is difficult on a statutory quarterback like Eli, and that time it was Dwan Edwards who got the pressure on him.
This will be a chip shot for Tynes after being asked to hit from 47 and 49 in the first half. This will just be a 30-yard field goal.
And Ness, you just mentioned it. You know, that's a win for the D.
Yeah.
Keep him out of the end zone.
Tynes perfect on the season. Still perfect on the season. Early stages of the third quarter. Joe Burns let one get away on the second half kickoff, but the Panthers defense hold the Giants to 3. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. The Giants score on their first possession of the third quarter. Only went 7 yards in 4 plays as Eli Manning slid down there to put his field goal kicker right in the middle of the field, and he knocked in a 30-yarder, his third field goal of the night. And now Tynes will kick it away. Joe Adams dropped the last one. And this one he will not return. Take a knee. Let's check in with Alex.
Hey, Brad, well, Ron Rivera hopeful when I spoke to him at the half that they can get something going on offense in this second half. He said that they've shown some glimpses, been able to do some things, but really when they cross over the 50-yard line, that's where he's seen a lot of the problems happen, though. He's sticking with his steady young quarterback. Remember, Cam Newton, as you guys well know, still learning in this game and looks to be likely that he will have to pass the ball a little bit more to catch up with the New York Giants.
Yep. And they start at the 20-yard line. It's not been a good night for Cam so far. And we'll document that here in a minute. Off play action, throwback screen to Tolbert. He's got a convoy in front. Tolbert bangs his way out to the 33, maybe the 34-yard line.
A nice setup there on the screen. They go play action away and then come back to Tolbert. They're going to play action this way. Tolbert sneaks up and out. Set up perfectly. Ryan Khalil did a great job right before he came out, sealing. Jordan Gross gets a block. I really believe they're one of the quicker offensive lines in football, but you can't just sit here down 23 and let these Giants attack you. Good call.
Newton loads and fires high, incomplete. Wow. Has been a tough night for number one, the reigning rookie of the year from a season ago. And that's just some of what we've seen tonight.
Yeah, Pierre-Paul there does a great job staying home on quarterback power. Pierre-Paul, again, he's had a couple of knocks at the line of scrimmage. The tackles have to get after him more. O.C. Umenyiora. And then the bad throw behind the crosser, Brandon LaFell. Felt like his mechanics broke down a little bit. And then at the end, give Hosley some credit. I watched him break on the football there. He's got great transition speed from the back pedal.
Snap was a little bit high. The handoff to Williams. Only about a 2-yard gain, and that's going to be third down and long.
Which is no position to be in against this Giants defense. I really felt like if the Panthers kept with the chains tonight, ran the ball, stayed ahead of the chains, they would force the Giants to play their type of football. However, Giants got hot on offense. Hasn't been a good night for the Panthers offense, and they've been behind the chains all night long.
Steve Smith has been a non-factor so far at wide receiver with just one catch. Newton scans the field, goes down the middle, and caught. First down, Steve Smith.
Nice call there, Ness. And this is another one of those progression reads where the young quarterback, watch his footwork and his eyes here. Watch his head movement. Looking right. Now he steps up away from pressure, all the way right, back to his left while getting hit. Puts it right on the crossing route of Steve Smith. That's a big-time throw. Love the presence in the pocket.
Now the handoff to Tolbert trying to get wide, and he's going to be dropped for no gain by Jason Pierre-Paul, who's having another big night.
Those defensive ends have really done a nice job in that zone read and all the different kind of things they're trying to do tonight. Here he is against Jordan Gross. That's called a stack and shed. He controls the offensive lineman with his hands and sheds him because he doesn't know whether it's going inside or outside. Sheds him and makes a tackle. That's textbook right there.
Joining Lawrence Taylor is making the Pro Bowl first or second season. Cam Newton, who made it last year, set to fire down the middle. His tight end's got it. Olsen for a first down.
Yeah, and I love the way Boley was covering Olsen to the last minute, and the veteran Olsen pushed off and made a play. I really like Cam Newton. Blitz coming in, stepped up and made another big-time throw. Now, those last 2 throws, Brad, are what we saw on tape.
That's what Alex was talking about with Coach Rivera. You're down there in Giant territory. Don't mess it up now. Play fake. Newton throws complete to the sideline. Lewis Murphy with the catch.
Oh, my goodness. Corey Webster jumped what Cam wanted to do outside. They're going to fake it and throw it out here. Watch. Bang. Watch him come under. He almost makes an interception, and then Cam, to his credit, pumps it twice and comes back and throws it over his head. That was a veteran move there by Corey Webster. Bubble screen.
2nd down and 3. Cam Newton hasn't run it much tonight. He'll give it to Williams. And I don't know if he got the first down. He's very close.
Yeah, Antrell Roll came off the edge in a blitz and ran right into the run play. They had too many people. They couldn't block them all.
Hurry up offense for the Panthers. They still got a yard to go here. And now Cam Newton will run it. And as he told us in our meetings yesterday, when it's 3rd down and 1, I am getting the first down.
And what was impressive?
Hey, number one, the call.
In different down and different situations, he understood when to get down, when to get out of bounds. But like you said, Brad, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, he said, I'm going to get it. And that was a planned quarterback run.
You might have heard one of the Giant defenders say, hey, number one, hey,
Yep.
number one, to get Cam Newton's attention, and then he threw him his towel back. 10th play of the Panther drive. It's covered 60 yards so far. Play action. Newton loads, comes back across the field. Olsen again. The tight end is down to the 9. And that's 1st and goal.
Yeah, really well-designed play by Rob Chudzinski, the offensive coordinator. They're going to fake it to D'Angelo Williams, roll hard to the right. They're going to come this way, and Cam's coming hard this way. And then the tight end's going to sneak back all the way across. This is a planned throwback. Really difficult to stay with Olsen across that much real estate, and he beat Boley for a big game.
Cam Newton 5 out of 6 on this drive. 1st and goal for the Panthers.
Looks like a different guy, doesn't he, Brad?
Yeah, he does. Williams, left side to the 1. Nice blocking that time. And a quick burst through the line for D'Angelo Williams to get it to the 1-yard line.
This is where Cam told us yesterday, the defensive end can't win. Here comes the ride, and watch what happens. Cam's going to stare the defensive end down right there. Defensive end comes up the field to get Cam. It's a give and another big play.
Newton still driving, but not quite to about the 1-foot line. Extra blockers and Tolbert checking in. Tolbert's one of those guys that sort of leads the league in 1-yard touchdowns. I told you earlier he weighs 245 pounds. Well, they're at the 1-yard line. In fact, they're inside the 1-yard line.
They got to close it now. Good drive. Cam Newton came alive. Now you got to close the deal.
3rd and goal. Cam Newton, airborne, touchdown. Finally something to cheer about for the Panther fans.
Not much of a surge, but Cam's going to get up in the air, stick that football right here over, and that's all about Cam Newton right there. They got just enough of a surge to allow him to jump. 6'5". And Brad, all of a sudden, we might have a ball game.
That's what the fans are hoping now, because with this extra point, it's a 2-possession game. Snaps a little off. The kick is good. And the Panthers' drive was a good one. 80 yards in 13 plays. And a guy that scored 14 touchdowns on the ground a year ago has one tonight, 23-7. Get coverage of every NFL game with NFL Mobile from Verizon. Live NFL games Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights. Every touchdown from every game Sunday afternoon with NFL Red Zone. NFL Network coverage and more. Call ** NFL to download NFL Mobile or go to NFL.com/mobile. They were working on Cam Newton's index finger, as you saw there on the sideline, as he took it 1 yard on the airborne touchdown to get Carolina back in this thing, 23-7. Justin Medlock set to kick away. David Wilson, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, back deep for the Giants. And Wilson will take this a yard deep. Straight up the middle, puts his head down and goes down at the 19-yard line. Jordan Sen made the stop on the special teams. That 1 yard leap has given Carolina hope. Beautiful look at Charlotte, North Carolina. Our aerial coverage being presented by Southwest Airlines from Bank of America Stadium with Mike Mayock, Alex Flanagan, Brad Nessler with you. 23-7 Giants. They have scored on 5 of their 6 possessions tonight. They work here from the 19-yard line. Play action for Eli Manning. Deep middle. Got his tight end. Martellus Bennett way out to the 48-yard line, and another explosive play, a pickup at 29.
And they got the ISO they wanted. They got their tight end on a linebacker, James Anderson, right up the seam. Safety separate either way. This is a clear shot and well thrown again by Eli Manning. Anderson trying to hang in there. Nothing Anderson can do about that.
Perfect pass.
Yep.
First down at the 48. Eli hasn't missed many tonight. 19-25.
I'm not sure he's been hit.
Quick slant to Cruz. And Cruz to the 46-yard line. Let's check in with Alex.
Brad, Victor Cruz getting the ball. Ron Rivera is saying that that's part of their problem tonight in covering the Giants offense. He says that they've been paying too much attention to Victor Cruz in the first half, rolling their coverages that way, allowing Ramses Barden to be open and Cruz not. Of course, Ron Rivera also pointing out to me in the first half that Ramses Barden was covered by the rookie Josh Norman. In the second half, his goal is to get tighter coverage from his secondary.
All right, we'll watch for that, Alex. Second down and 4 here. And it'll be a draw play to Brown. Found himself a little opening. Didn't get the first down, but he got about 3. That's going to bring up 3rd down and 1. And if Carolina could get a stop here, it'd be big. Andre Brown, over 100 yards in this his first start tonight in the National Football League. Good for him.
Really happy for the young man. 4th round pick in 09. Brad, you mentioned he's been cut 7 or 8 times around the league. Taking a big step up tonight.
Then with the Broncos and the Colts, the Panthers, the Redskins, and now back where he started with the Giants and having a huge night. Manning across the middle. First down. Victor Cruz again. Tell you what, there's enough Giant fans in this stadium tonight that every time Victor catches one, you hear the Cruz chants.
I just can't get over, and we can talk about coverages, and Alex was exactly right. The first half they were trying to take Cruz out, which makes sense. There was nobody on paper that could hurt them other than Cruz. But regardless of what they're doing with coverages, if you can't get any pressure on the quarterback or stop the run game, you can't win in this league.
As you said, they have not touched number 10 tonight. Brown behind his blockers. Tough run on the inside. John Beeson brings him down.
You know, in the first half, I talked a little bit about this kid's patience on his 31-yard run. He's not like a young back that just hits the hole as fast and hard as he can. He's been around long enough to let the offensive line develop their blocks, read who he's supposed to read, and make the proper cut.
Regardless of when Ahmad Bradshaw comes back, this kid's going to get more and more work. I'm pretty sure of that. 2nd and 6. Manning wide open over the middle again. And it's Martellus Bennett again. And a first down, New York.
Manning just taking what the defense gives him. Barden ran off a deep route and allowed the tight end Bennett to cut right in behind him in the voided area.
Down to 2.5 in the third quarter already.
And you keep saying it, Ness, you know, somebody's got to step up and make a play for Carolina if you want to make this a football game. Your offense got a touchdown. Your defense has to step up and make a play.
7th play of this Giant drive again. Play action. Eli, all kinds of time. This one's dropped by Brown, and Kuechly, the rookie linebacker, made a nice play.
Yeah, he did. I thought he had Barden in behind. I was surprised he dumped it down to Brown. They were in a two deep shell, and he dumps it down. Kuechly, number 59, left of your screen. He's got the running back, and again, that's what Kuechly did best, I thought, in college. Is he's got explosion quickness. He can open his hips. He can cover man-to-man, and that's a big play by the rookie there.
532 tackles in college. He averaged 14 tackles a game at Boston College. Butkus, Lombardi, and a winner of a year ago. And this time, finally, they get to Eli Manning. And it's Frank Alexander, another rookie, this one out of Oklahoma, who always seemed to find his way around the football in Norman, and he just found Eli Manning for the first sack of the night.
Well, it's on Andre Brown, okay? We've been talking the kid up all day. Now you got to man up, eat up some grass, and take him on square. That's a poor job by Andre Brown. He did nothing right there. You got to attack the defensive end. You got to stay square, and you can't let him win inside.
Mike, that's the first time Eli Manning's been sacked going way back to the opener in Dallas. 91 dropbacks. Throws a screen to Brown. Blockers in front.
Wow.
He is close. About a yard shy, maybe 2 of the first down, but they got 16.
Great call, because there's only 3 coming. They drop 8. You love to run screens when teams are dropping into zone coverage. Peekaboo screen. You let Alexander go. Look at all the people out front. You've got your entire offensive line in front of you. Good block by Booth. I thought he could have maximized that run just a little bit more. Somebody came under and knifed under and got a piece of him, forcing the field goal attempt.
You can tell by Brown's reaction there, he agrees with you. He thought he could have gotten more out of it too.
It looked like a bigger play than that, Brad.
Times from 36 yards out. And again, hasn't missed yet this year. Giants tack on 3 more with 50 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Eli Manning continues to carve up the Carolina Panthers. Coming up next week, don't forget, we'll be in Baltimore. And an AFC North clash between the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Thursday Night Football next week, 8 o'clock Eastern on NFL Network. We'll get to see one of the 5 rookie starting quarterbacks next week in Cleveland. That guy no longer a rookie.
Hey, as long as he has Trent Richardson behind him, he's got a little bit of a security blanket.
Joe Adams will take a knee with 50 seconds remaining third quarter. Can Cam Newton and the Panthers get another touchdown drive generated? We'll see when we come back. Thursday Night Football is brought to you by GMC. Vote for the Never Say Never moment of the week at NFL.com/GMC. Let's go down to the field to Rich Eisen. Rich.
Well, Brad, the last time the Giants finished the game, it was quite an interesting finish with Greg Schiano and the Bucs bum rushing a kneel down. Melissa Stark asked the coach hours ago if he did the right thing.
I don't have to answer to people. I know if I do something that's right and I can go to bed at night knowing that I didn't do anything that isn't right, then I have no problem. And I believe what we did was right.
Next week, next year, are you doing it again?
It's like any other play we have in the playbook. If I think the time is right, I'll call it.
The full conversation on First on the Field and NFL Game Day morning this Sunday. Back to you, Brad.
I'm going to check that out. Thanks, Rich. It'll be interesting. Tom Coughlin, a heated exchange with Greg Schiano at the end of the game Sunday. And here's what that play looked like. Victory formation. Eli gets knocked back, and then there's a skirmish down between the 2 lines. And here's what happened afterwards. Not a very happy handshake. Cam Newton, pump fake one way, play action, And now fires far side at Tolbert. And Tolbert might have fallen forward for the first down. He did.
You want to talk about a load coming right at you, and somebody a corner doesn't want any piece of. It's Mike Tolbert.
Right.
And Corey Webster did a great job going after his shoelaces.
They picked up 12 yards. Mike comes out. Former Charger. Williams comes back in. Might be the final play of the third quarter. Olsen, the tight end, in motion. Williams hitting the backfield, broke one tackle, now tries to cut to the corner, and he's run down by Rocky Bernard. And Jason Pierre-Paul got a flag down. They have not had a lot of penalties tonight.
Yeah, Pierre-Paul blew up the integrity of that play. Greg Olsen missed the block. They had Silatolo, the guard, out front. They had something there if they could have blocked Pierre-Paul.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense, number 20. 15 yards, we're in a run, first down.
Prince Amukamara with a personal foul. That's a big play for the Panthers with 2 seconds remaining in the quarter.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's what Tom Coughlin's asking.
There's 20 right here. He gets pushed, comes right back at him. Okay. We see that often, don't we? The second guy.
Second guy. Brings the third quarter to a close. New York Giants in command. Panthers trying to fight their way back into it. Last time that the Panthers had the football, they went 80 yards in 13 plays. Cam Newton drills one down the middle to Steve Smith. Then scans the field and goes back across to his tight end Olsen. And then he caps that 13-play drive, leaping into the end zone from a yard out. His second rushing touchdown of the year. Now they've got it back, and with that personal foul penalty, they have it at the 45-yard line. As we start the fourth quarter, they need the kind of fourth quarter the Giants had against Tampa last week. And he comes up rifling the slant and 15 yards to Olsen, the tight end.
And that's a matchup problem for the Giants corner. I mean, here we are up here, bang, slant. He's got no shot once Olsen, the big body tight end, gets inside leverage. Good recognition by Cam. Good job getting the inside, breaking the tackle, and Hosley has got to do a better job securing that tackle.
They're already down to the 39-yard line. Empty backfield now. Newton, pressure coming, down he goes. Michael Boley and Jason Pierre-Paul. Second sack of the night, and it's way back, and Cam Newton comes up limping at the end of it, in fact.
Yeah, Michael Boley, what they get is a little twist on here, and Boley coming inside, untouched. Confusion. Hangartner doesn't come off on the inside, and Cam Newton's got no shot there.
So just when we were talking about when they get in Giant territory, something blows up in their face. It happened to be Boley and Pierre-Paul in that case.
Exactly. And just a mix-up in pass protection. Boley did a nice job on the stunt.
Second down and a whole bunch. Cam zips it down the middle. Nice play on the ball by Amukamara.
Yeah. And Carolina got what they want. It's a blitz. They blocked it up pretty well. Man-to-man coverage with a free safety in the middle of the field. And here's Prince on the slot, inside. Gets out of his pedal, drives on Murphy, and strips it with the proper hand. The inside hand, no interference. Really well done by the Prince.
Cam had hit his last 6 passes before that one. And now he's got third down and 22.
Prince is a guy, he needs some reps, man. He came into training camp last year after the lockout, got hurt day one. He's got talent, but he needs reps.
5 receivers here for Cam Newton. Waiting, firing down the middle. It's intercepted. Picked off by Michael Boley. And Boley has got his 3rd interception of this young season.
Yeah, I think he stared him down here, Olsen tried to sit down in the dead zone, throw way too late, stares him down. 26-7, Giants.
Thursday Night Football is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by T-Mobile. Test drive our nationwide 4G network. Michael Boley's third interception of the season. One in each game. Joins Terry Jackson, first Giant player since '78 with one in the first. Didn't you play with Terry?
I did play with Terry. He probably wouldn't remember that, but I do.
I don't know if the linebackers ever led the league in interceptions, but this guy's off to a good start.
You know, they feel really good about their linebackers this year, Brad, which they thought was a weakness a year ago because Kiwanuka's year 2 standing up, and then you get the speed into the game with Boley, with Jaquan Williams, and with the pickup of Keith Rivers from Cincinnati, who's inactive due to an injury tonight.
From the 48-yard line, on the ground and chewing up ground again is Andre Brown. Kuechly made the tackle. Andre Brown, a super night in the backfield, and this quarterback has been spectacular again. Last 4 quarters of football, the fourth quarter, the amazing fourth quarter against Tampa Bay, and now the first 3 tonight, 31 out of 43, almost 500 yards. And he had 510 passing a week ago.
And Brad, I keep going, I know it's not sexy, but it's right here, okay? Eli can do that all day long with that kind of protection.
Mike was circling that offensive line, not Cam Newton's head. Second down and 3. Quick throw, complete. Barden again. Barden, I think now, is 1 reception shy tonight of what he had all of last year.
In his first 3 years, Brad, he had a total of 15 receptions. Remember, his big issue was beating press against the corner Norman, the rookie. He starts him up the field, uses his big body to fight back inside, and that's what Eli needs to see. Eli is going to trust him to win inside on that slant, and this young man has taken a huge step tonight in cementing himself as the third wideout of the Giants.
Obviously a career night with what we're talking about. 8 catches. Here's a pitch to Brown, trying to get to the corner. No gain on that play.
But you know what I mean about this offensive line, Brad. I mean, you know, you don't hear guys talk about Kevin Booth, the left guard, right there, 77. Cornell kid, out of the Ivy League, drafted by the Raiders. He redefined his entire body. He was kind of shaped like a pear when he came out of Cornell, okay? He's worked hard in the weight room. I talked to him this summer. He was on a diet during the lockout. Those are the guys that are making tonight work.
Second down at 10. Manning, nobody near him as he throws again to Barden. And now Barden has as many catches as all of the 2011 season here in one game.
And their offensive line coach, Pat Flaherty, is one of my favorite guys to talk to at the Combine and the Senior Bowl. You know, he's a technician. He's been around for 30 years as a coach. Last year, he had 3 starting left tackles and 5 different offensive line combinations, and they still win a Super Bowl. The guy held it together with glue.
Well, it was super glue because they won it all. Third down at 4. Eli wide opens his tight end inside the 15-yard line. Run out of bounds and losing his lid over there as he got mugged at the end of that play, and now there is a flag.
Yeah, there has to be. Godfrey was pulling on the helmet. Panthers are very frustrated, obviously.
And you see all those offensive linemen you were just talking about over there trying to protect their tight end.
Trust me, they're the first guys in every fight. They're guys you want to hang out with at night if you intend to get in some trouble. End of the problem. Look at number 30 right there, Godfrey, left of your screen. He's going to try and rip the helmet off right there, which he does.
And so that'll take it half the distance to the goal. Bennett's had another big night.
He was a huge acquisition. 9 catches on the way into the game. That's 5 or 6 more tonight, right?
Yeah, he had 5 last week and 5 tonight.
Personal foul. Face mask by the defense, number 30. Half the distance to the goal. Down.
Yep.
Mike, I want to touch on something that you talked about a quarter or so ago, and we never got back to it. You're talking about the offensive line. They're a veteran group. Some of the problem might be, though, that they're too veteran of a group.
Well, one of my pet peeves is you can't let an offensive line grow old together. And as good as it is that they're all veterans, keep in mind, McKenzie retired, O'Hara retired, and now you've got David Deal 10 years in the league, Snee 9, David Boss 8, Kevin Booth 7, and Locklear 9. So if Will Beatty and James Brewer, their young draft picks, don't develop, you're going to have a huge hole with this line.
Tonight, all they've made is holes for Brown and a protective covering around Eli Manning. And the ball now is just inside the 7-yard line, where it's 1st and goal.
Beatty was a 2nd-round pick. You see him right there. He's their left tackle of the future, but he can't stay healthy.
Empty backfield for Eli. So he's going to throw it here. The fade to the corner. Broken up beautifully by Josh Norman. Intended for Barden again.
Yeah, when you're covering a wide receiver that's 6'6", 224, what I liked here is he had eyes. He had vision on the ball, elevates, gets that right hand on it. And Josh Norman is 6 feet 195. And Brad, there was a huge buzz on this kid at the East-West game. I was there for practice all week. Nobody knew about this kid from Coastal Carolina. He got his hands on the football 2 or 3 times a practice. Only ran a 4.6, and I think Carolina was happy he slid all the way to the 5th round.
Brown back in there flanking Eli in the shotgun on 2nd and goal, and he goes across the middle to him. He was right near the goal line. They're going to spot it inside the 1.
Eli throws the dart underneath. Brown catches it. Really good hit by Gordon. Tough to see where that football is. Does it cross the line right here?
He's got it in his left hand, and it doesn't make it.
Yeah, it's the wrong hand. And a really solid hit by Charles Godfrey.
Extra lineman in again, as is the fullback. 3rd and goal. Brown dives in. Touchdown, New York.
He went right over Heinofsky, his fullback.
Andre Brown has left Carolina blue tonight. Touchdown from a yard out, and it's 32-7. Boley's interception is what led to that score. And that might just about start to ice it for the Giants to go to 2-1. Tynes with the extra points. First, Michael Boley, the outside linebacker, got his 3rd interception in 3 games on the year. And 48 yards and 8 plays later, Andre Brown did the rest from a yard out. Wednesday, you can see that guy, Tom Coughlin, as you've never seen him before. His relentless work ethic, his strict attention to detail, his fiery personality, unique look at the man who's led the Giants to 2 Super Bowl titles. Don't miss Tom Coughlin, A Football Life, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, exclusively on NFL Network. He's on his way to his 84th win as the head coach of the Giants in this his 9th season, to go along with 2 Super Bowl crowns. Joe Adams will take a shot at this one from 3 yards deep. And got his best return of the night out to the 25-yard line, where Darrell Scott made the stop. 9:34, not a lot of time left for the Panthers to do something about this one. We mentioned Tom Coughlin en route to his 84th overall victory as Giants head coach. That would put him within 1 of Bill Parcells. How about those matching numbers?
You know, everybody says Bill Parcells is a slam dunk Hall of Famer, and I agree with that. But I don't think Tom Coughlin gets enough respect. 2 Super Bowl wins, 8-3 in the playoffs. He's held this team together through thick and thin. He's a Hall of Fame coach, in my opinion.
Throw complete to Steve Smith. Smith down the sideline. Going to be the biggest play for him tonight. But they could have used a lot more of it earlier. They get 33 on that one.
Steve Smith still fighting his tail off, working against Corey Webster. Press bail technique, meaning he was press coverage, then he bailed out at the last second. Really good cut by Smith, getting back to the sidelines and out of bounds.
Still a very dangerous guy at age 33.
Oh, yeah. His numbers are astonishing in this franchise.
Over 10,000 receiving yards. One of 5 active players in the NFL, wide receivers that have those kind of numbers. So that gets it to the 42-yard line at the 9-minute mark. Newton, trouble, got out of it. And now he'll run. And is run out of bounds by Boley.
You know, rarely do you ever see Ryan Khalil get beat. He's the quickest center in the league, and he's also technique proficient. But watch the move here. He drops his head, bends at the waist, and Linval Joseph beats him badly and forces him out of the pocket. I really think that Khalil's the best center I've seen in a while, and it surprises me to see him drop his head and bend at the waist like that.
Ryan, the guy that took out a full-page ad in the Charlotte papers, pretty much guaranteeing that the Panthers would make the playoffs this year. There's still plenty of time for them to get to that level, but they're going to drop to 1-2 in the next 8.5 minutes unless there's a miracle at Bank of America Stadium.
Mike Tolbert did such a good job of pass protection there. I mean, they're not going to win this football game, but I love seeing veterans like Steve Smith and Mike Tolbert playing their tails off late in the fourth quarter.
3rd down and 2-down territory, I would assume, for the Panthers here anyway. Newton's going to throw it down the sideline, incomplete, but we've got penalty marker down. Corey Webster is going to have his second pass interference call of the night.
Yeah, his hands were all over Smith, and he didn't turn and find the football till it was too late. I think Cam could have put it out there a little more, given him a chance to catch it, but watch what happens. He's got him where he wants him on the sidelines. You don't need to go hit him again. He did a nice job forcing him outside. Now all you got to do.
Defense, number 31, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, it wasn't number 31, 20. It was number 23, but
yeah,
it's close enough.
And he had him where he wanted him on the initial move. He got him on the sidelines. All you got to do is go hip to hip and find the ball.
Well, if you're just joining us and you don't know what happened in the previous 3.5 quarters, Eli Manning almost spotless tonight, 27 out of 35, 288 and a touchdown. Andre Brown in for Ahmad Bradshaw with a 113-2 touchdown night, and Barden filling in for Akeem Nicks, 9 catches and 138 yards. Career highs for those two guys tonight who really stepped up. Throw to Tolbert. Nice open field tackle by Corey Webster. And don't forget, we're 7:51 away from the end of the game, but that doesn't end our coverage because Rich and the guys will have the McDonald's postgame show, star of the game on the set, highlights and analysis all coming up on the McDonald's postgame show. Throw again out to Tolbert. Head of steam for the big fella. Inside the 10. And down to the 8.
And that time Khalil showed why he's an all-pro center. Watch Khalil snap and get out in front of the screen pass, and in space he'll make the key block. Right there. All you got to do is get position. He gets a piece of Blackburn, opens up the hole.
So 1st and goal. We haven't said that too much tonight for Carolina. At the 8-yard line. Smith now comes over with LaFell to Cam Newton's right. And that's Olsen, the tight end, in motion. Newton, flush from the pocket. Pressure coming. He's going to try to throw this one away and got it out of there.
Yeah, I thought he had LaFell early when he crossed the face of Blackburn, but didn't see him. I like the decision, however, to throw it away.
2nd down to goal. 2nd down to goal. Giants defense has done a great job tonight, much like their offensive line that's protected that guy.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that because we've talked about the offensive line. It's really been domination at the line of scrimmage on both sides.
3 wideouts for Newton in the shotgun. Looks to his left and goes to the corner there and overshot Olsen, and look out. And Vince took a shot, our guy, and Antrell Roll is in the pileup as well.
This is a corner out with the tight end on a safety. Of course, Roll's got coverage in the deep corner. Ball's overthrown.
Well, the good thing is you got a great look at it because of our camera guy. The bad news is he took the charge down there. And the worst news is Antrell Roll is shaken up. Kenny Phillips there kneeling over his teammate in those safety spots in the secondary.
Yeah. To me, this can't happen. You can't allow this to happen.
Mike Antrell-Rolle comes out, and already an injury-depleted Giants secondary. That's the last thing they needed. Stevie Brown is going to come in. It's going to be 3rd down and goal for Carolina at the 8.
Corner of the end zone. Olsen runs over the cameraman. Rolls trying to jump over the other cameraman. Catches the left knee on the camera and then lands awkwardly. And boy, you just got to hope and pray that nothing comes out of that awkward situation.
3rd down and goal. 2-down territory here for the Panthers. Firing to the end zone. It's broken up, intended for Olsen. And it was Will Hill in the secondary that made the play at the goal line.
And he's a great story. I mean, he's a kid that was highly publicized out of North Jersey in high school, went to the University of Florida, had a wonderful 3-year career at Florida, but got in a lot of trouble. All kinds of off-the-field issues. He left school after 3 years undrafted. Nobody signed him until the Giants did last May. And finally ended up making the team, and according to everyone I've talked to, has really cleaned up his life.
Olsen should have made that catch. Newton on 4th down, intercepted at the goal line. Stevie Brown, who just came in for Antrell-Rolle, and he's going the other way, all the way out to the 43-yard line. A 44-yard interception return, and was probably the last hope for the Panthers.
And he's just reading the eyes of Cam Newton. He's just, watch Stevie Brown, he's in the back here. Watch him just shuffle to his right now. He's reading the eyes, and when he sees that, he breaks on it. He's already got his hips turned. That's just a veteran defensive back reading the eyes of a quarterback, jumping it, and making it look pretty easy.
So we got a new Giants quarterback. Eli Manning's night is done. And David Carr will come in to clean up here in the last 6.5 minutes.
What up, 53's the mic.
Former #1 overall draft pick.
Alert, 77.
And Darrell Scott's in the backfield, so Andre Brown's night is done as well. And Carr's going to throw. Completes it to Bennett, the tight end. He stays in bounds, and we're down to 6:15 remaining in the ballgame.
And Brad, I've had a lot of people say, who do you think's the best team in the National Football League today? Not that it matters, but it's fun to talk about. And I really believe that when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, what they did week 1 at Green Bay, then host Detroit, the way they've dominated physically, the quarterback playing at the level he is, I think it's San Francisco right now.
18.
Here's the stretch play, and no gain on that play, a loss of a yard by Scott. Well, there are 6 2-0 teams, but 4 of those get together this weekend. We mentioned Philip Rivers is going to be with us on NFL Network tomorrow, and it's the Chargers hosting the Falcons. The Falcons off to a 2-0 start after an impressive win on Monday night.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out a little bit about both those teams. Atlanta's got a short week. San Diego getting an uncharacteristically quick start.
Atlanta a short week and a long trip.
Yeah, exactly. Tough combo.
3rd and 7 for Carr, the Giants, and he's going to be sacked, and the ball came out, and a flag flies in as well. He comes up with a football.
Antoine Edwards, I think, ended up beating Jimmy Cordell.
Antrell-Rolle, they're telling us, has a knee laceration, and they're going to go in and x-ray. So catching that camera, trying to leap over it, apparently has a cut on his leg, and that's what we're hearing from the field right now. And it's going to be a holding call here on the Giants. It'll be declined.
Holding. Offense, number 63. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
That's what we were talking about. 20 teams 1-1, the most ever in NFL history after week 2. That's what you call parity or something close to that. The teams with 0-2 records, they have to hear all those statistics about how hard it is to make the playoffs.
Right.
When you start 0-2 and the New Orleans Saints are in that mix.
How about the Philadelphia Eagles at Arizona. Both of them 2-0. And the Eagles have turned the ball over 9 times in 2 games, and they're 2-0.
And when we saw the Cardinals in the Hall of Fame game, we went away thinking there's no way they're going to be 2-0 either.
And Kevin Cobb, again, coming off the bench, feeling comfortable. I think that defense of Arizona is better than people think, and if they can protect their quarterback, you know, they can be a pretty good team.
Eagles and Cardinals, 20 points a game, but not giving up much. We liked the Cardinals linebacking core, though, when we did them, that's for sure.
Yeah, they run around, and that whole front 7, I thought Ray Horton, their defensive coordinator, did a great job at the end of last year. It's continued this year.
5 minutes and 2 seconds.
So the clock issue is what has the delay going here. They're going to put it back at 5:02. Well, that guy has reason to celebrate on the sideline. A career night, 9 catches. And he'll have a happy ride back home to New York.
So will he.
So will he. Yeah. Andre Brown, a career night as well.
I mean, the only negative I could even give him was that one bad pass protection. The rest of the night was pretty clean. Here they come.
Trying to get to the punter, but they don't. Adams dropped the ball again. And it's picked up by the Giants, and it's going in for a touchdown.
It's a muff. It's a muff. It can't be advanced.
Tryon scooped it up after.
Yeah, it's coming back, Brad, to the point where they picked it up because you can't advance a muff. But
Adams, and this is the second time he's had a miscue on special teams tonight.
Yeah. Tough day for the Arkansas rookie, huh? You got to do 2 things when you return punts. You got to keep your elbows tight, and your eyes have to look the ball in. I know that because I returned punts. I couldn't run anywhere with them, but I could catch them pretty good. Elbows tight and watch the eyes. His eyes are looking down the field. The ball's down here.
So the Giants have it back. 5th turnover suffered by the Panthers. Darrell Scott got a nice block from his fullback, and he's down to the 15-yard line. Eli Manning, who had the unbelievable second half last week with over 500 yards passing, and tonight another 200-yard passing night, 22 straight times, he and Drew Brees. Fauci back in the day, Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
45 consecutive games with over 200 yards.
They were so far ahead of their time under Don Coryell and that whole group. It was so much fun to watch.
On a cutback, broken tackle, and Darrell Scott showing that he wants to get some playing time. Nakamura from the secondary made the hit.
The cut, drop the pad level, run through Godfrey. Now she hit it right on the head. Physical, downhill. The Giants have dominated all the physical parts of this game, starting with both sides of the line of scrimmage. Their backs are running tough. Eli was impeccable.
That's 3rd down and less than a yard. Scott again, and he got the yard. It'll be 1st and goal at the 3-minute mark.
He is definitely a flatliner. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low.
Doesn't matter if he's at home or on the road, he just keeps winning.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's just nothing really gets to him. We had a conversation with him yesterday, and
look at that. Pretty even, huh?
Flatliner, I'm telling you. You can play in the backyard, you can play in the Super Bowl. He's just going to be Eli.
Or as his teammates call him, Easy E. Here's his backup, throwing a fade to the corner, incomplete. Headed for Reuben Randall.
Like the entire Manning family, he is just a student of the game. You know, you start with Archie and what a great player he was, and obviously so much has been said about Peyton, yet this young man has 2 Super Bowl rings stored away somewhere. And if he continues to play the way he's played the last couple of years, that's a Hall of Fame quarterback someday.
And of course, Peyton's only got 1 ring. So big brother one less piece of jewelry than Eli has.
59's the mic. 59's the mic. Hey, go ahead, Bear. Set. Hey, easy. 53's the mic. Omaha. Omaha, set.
Back to the ground. Scott met in the hole by Kuechly. And that should take us down to the 2-minute warning. Panthers now, they got a rough road ahead. They've got Atlanta next week. And the Falcons will either be 2-1 or 3-0 at that time.
Right. And then they got Seattle, who, by the way, is a good football team.
Exactly. 2 minutes remaining. Long night for the Panthers and Cam Newton. Tonight football is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. And brought to you by Best Buy. Let's head down to the field. Rich Eisen. Rich.
Well, Brad, there's two reasons why you need to watch this game to its conclusion. One, Eli Manning's on the post-game set. And two, the Giants could end this game by taking a knee, and you never know what might happen.
Good point. Hadn't thought of that. See what the Panthers' reaction would be if indeed we see a victory formation here. Football's at the 9-yard line. It's 3rd and goal.
I'm a big fan of just running the football twice here.
David Carr, quarterback.
41.
Scott, draw play. And the Panthers will stop him. No gain. Kuechly again helped on the stop along with James Anderson, 2 outside linebackers.
Defensive end Kaiser got a piece also late.
Well, Tynes has been perfect all season long through 3 weeks, including 49 and 47 yarders tonight. This will be another chip shot. Closer than the last one he hit. This will be a 27-yard field goal attempt. Taking the clock down as far as they can. And then taking the timeout. Devin Gilbride having a good night with Eli Manning. Next week, Trent Richardson, the rookie out of Alabama, coming off a 100-yard game. He'll face Ray Rice, the number 2 rusher in the league a year ago, in the Ravens. Thursday Night Football. Hope you join us next Thursday, 8 Eastern. Browns and the Ravens on NFL Network. Brandon Whedon, rocky in the first week, kind of got his feet under him a little bit over the weekend.
He's a talented kid, a mature kid. You know, it's interesting because where he went to college at Oklahoma State, they wore the wristbands.
Yeah.
They all look over to the sideline. He never had to call an offensive play in college, kind of like Cam Newton at Auburn with the wristband. But when he got to the Senior Bowl, Whedon last year, he had trouble spitting out some of the plays, which is normal for a college quarterback that's never been in a huddle before. So there's some development there, but he's a talented kid. I think he's going to be fine.
We have trouble spitting things out up here sometimes.
Dude, you're good. I really struggle with that.
Balls away.
27-yard field goal, and it's good again. And the lead goes to 36-7 as the Giants are en route to their 2nd straight win. Tomorrow on NFL AM, only morning show devoted entirely to football. Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton joins the crew live. Discuss their matchup with RG3 and the Redskins coming up this weekend. Plus Cardinals head coach Ken Whisenhunt. We talked about the Cardinals being 2-0. He joins us to talk about getting ready for Michael Vick and the 2-0 Eagles. NFL AM, your first stop for all the latest highlights and headlines. Only on NFL Network, weekdays starting at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's the guys we said had to make an impact tonight, especially the 2 on the right, filling in for starters that were out with injuries. Eli was just Eli, but Andre Brown and Barden had career nights.
Yeah, and they dominated that first half where Andre Brown had almost 100 yards prior to halftime. Barden had 7 catches at half. Look at him. Thank you. Thank you, Eli.
Yes. And thank you, Coach Coughlin, for having the confidence in me to go out there and make some plays.
I thought this preseason he was coming along a little bit, fighting to get off press coverage, making some plays. And when you get into your 4th year in this league and you're a 3rd-round pick and you haven't made an impact, you need to step up.
You know something you and I and Alex were all talking about today? Sometimes this can be a blessing in disguise.
Yep.
You have guys go down, you have guys step in. Now all of a sudden you got another receiver and another tailback you didn't think you had before. Armani Edwards going to run back this kick. And the flag goes down. 27-yard return might be negated by a block in the back.
And you make a good point, Brad. It's just going to contribute to their wide receiver depth once Hakeem Nicks gets back.
Right.
Makes them a better team.
And not only Hakeem Nicks, but they didn't have Dominic Hickson either.
Yep.
So here's a
During
call.
the return, holding by the receiving team, number 81. Half the distance to the goal. Be a first down.
So they will back up that kick return. Reminder for you, coming up Sunday, wake up with First on the Field and Game Day Morning for live reports from game sites and all the latest news and analysis this Sunday. As Rich told you earlier, Buccaneers head coach Greg Schiano sits down with Melissa Stark to discuss their showdown with the Cowboys. First on the Field and Game Day Morning. It all starts Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, only on NFL Network.
There's the guys that, again, up front. On the right, Will Beatty, second-round pick a couple of years ago. And on the left, Mr. Booth from Cornell. Kevin Booth, the left guard, has done a great job tonight.
Derek Anderson in at quarterback for the final few snaps here for Carolina. And he's going to come up throwing a slant, complete to Steve Smith. We talked about the Panthers and their upcoming schedule. Here's what New York's got. The Eagles in Philadelphia and Cleveland at home at San Francisco. That one could be really big on October 14th. The Redskins and the Cowboys in division play to follow. And for Carolina, going to lose tonight to drop to 1-2. And as I mentioned, when they go to Atlanta, it'll either be a 3-0 Falcon team or a 2-1 Falcon team, which at that time should still be good enough to be at the top of the NFC South. Seattle on a bye week.
That's a tough schedule right there.
Yeah.
And they're going to fight their tails off to get at least 1 out of 2 wins there with Atlanta and Seattle prior to bye week. That NFC West is better than it's been. You know, San Francisco elevated themselves a year ago. Seattle can play. Arizona's 2-0. A little different look this year.
Yep.
I like what Pete Carroll's doing out there. And we did a game out there. That place gets loud, doesn't it?
Sure
it's
does.
Fun. Really fun.
There's the West with Arizona and San Francisco tied, and Seattle, St. Louis just a game off.
Hey, and St. Louis played well last week. I thought
Yeah.
they beat Washington, and you know all the good things RG3's doing in Washington, and interesting division. A lot better than it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, Cam Newton, who had the great season last year, had a bad night tonight. Anderson in his place, throwing deep down the middle, and throws a strike to Steve Smith. And Smith still on his feet at the 40-yard line. Steve Smith might end up with a 100-yard night before it's over after starting very slow. He's got 86 right now on 4 catches. And he's had 100-yard games in the first 2 weeks. Anderson short over the middle of Williams out of the backfield. And he gets out near midfield. The final 20 seconds here.
Give the Giants some credit, Brad. You know, all the injuries. They came out here fired up and played well early.
And scored on 8 of their 10 possessions tonight. Here's Williams in some space on another crossing route. That might be the last play of the game. And indeed it will be. Impressive win by the New York Giants and by, again, Eli Manning, who didn't need a fourth quarter comeback because he was so good in the first quarter tonight. 36-7 is the final score. We're going to be back in a minute with a McDonald's post-game show featuring Eli Manning live. We'll have highlights, analysis from Rich and the guys, interviews and press conferences, so stick around. We'll be back. All New York tonight here in Charlotte.